Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we talk about what if Deku was in RWBY. So in the last video we talked about how, after, a while basically hanging out with, his new teammates, he would basically start leaving to go back to his room. Apparently he needs to get something, and while he was basically leaving, he would, be met with RWBY and a few people nearby. As after, noticing the people right beside RWBY, he would notice them, having, a different, uniform than, Beacon. Instead, their uniform seems to be, from somewhere. More specifically, from Mistral. And after introducing themselves, apparently, their names were, well, Cinder, or, Cinderfall. Then there's, well, Emerald, and finally the other one being called, Mercy. And after introducing themselves, and while Izuku, was introduced to them, well, he would start to have a bad feeling towards, a certain, fiery-eyed girl, aka Cinder. He doesn't know why, but for some odd reason, he's starting to feel like he shouldn't trust her. But he would basically shrug it off and would basically say goodbye to them. But when he left, all three of them would think that they're going to be, are pretty much wondering why their quote-unquote mistress wants to get this boy, apparently. As after doing so, we go back to, Izuku. As Izuku is basically talking to RWBY, as RWBY would basically tell him that she's going to be, told him that apparently Wise wants him to basically make some, something simple to say the least. It's mostly just pastries for the, Vissel Festival. Apparently, she wants them for, as usual, for information. So, she's planning to use them to basically bribe, not really bribe, but more like, loosen up some of the tension from, other, students from other academies so they can get information about their powers, abilities, things of that sort. But, before he can leave, apparently she wanted to tell Izuku that that he should stay. Apparently they wanted to talk to him about something. And after going into their room, specifically Team RWBY's room, he was told that he's going to be, helping them with, getting a lot of information about the White Fang. Which, the people that were there were, Amphitrite, aka, Neptune, which I'm just gonna be calling him, calling her Neptune. Because, it's a bit easier. Then there's, Star Wukong. There's also, like the rest of Team RWBY. And after being told of this, he would decide to join them, and so he would be, paired up with both, Yang and also, Neptune. And after doing so, he would start leaving with them later that afternoon-ish, I guess. And so, after basically leaving with them, he would decide to basically rode on his, usual mode of transport, which is his summoned animals. And after using the animal path to summon in a large vulture-like creature, he would start flying off as he would start to follow, Yang on her, motorcycle by the name of Bumblebee. Which, actually, I should probably make, a Wattpad story about the Transformer in RWBY. Such great ideas I have in my mind. Oh god. So, and if you're asking, no, I'm still pretty much I'm still planning on making, my Wattpad stories. I'm just a bit lazy at the time. So yeah, and I'm also a bit tired. So yeah, continuing on, as we currently, go back to Izuku and, and with, and also Yang and also, Neptune, they would arrive at a little, bar for some odd reason, as he would ask her why are they here. Apparently she, told him that apparently that is where, most of, like, or at least used to be, henchmen of, like, Roman Tortrick used to, stay at. And after being told of this, he would decide to basically, shut up for now. And just let, Yang be the bad cop for now. While, Neptune is basically there by her, with them. And so, after basically going into the, the establishment, she would start talking to this man by the name of Junior. And after a while talking, and also a bit of arguing, well, they would notice two girls basically arriving. These girls seem to have, wait for a second, seem to be, siblings. In fact, I think they're probably twins. Actually, that's not even a probably. That's definitely both of them are probably twins. Each of them have, black hair and also, greenish eyes, similar to his, eye color before he actually came to this world. As you would notice that both of them seem to be wearing, you know, basically similar outfits, but but with different colors. One has, a black dress with, not really a black dress, but more like a, red dress with, black trimming, while the other one seems to have the opposite. White trimming, not white trimming, I meant, blue trimming with, a white dress. As actually, after basically introducing themselves, which apparently their names were, wait for a second. Well, their names were, Melanie and Melchides something. I'm not going to say their last names because it's also pretty complicated to say the least. Like seriously. I'm either going to say it as Malachete or something else. I'm just going to call it Malachete for now. Because it seems somewhat tolerable to say the least. So, after Melanie and also, Malchides basically arrive, they would notice, Izuku and would basically start flirting with him. Mostly Melanie. As when they did that, well, let's just say Yang was not really happy. And so, fighting would ensue, which, Izuku was a bit, annoyed about. As after, while talking with Junior, and also Junior basically asking him to basically stop it, he would decide to stop it by using wood style wood prison. Or, in this case, wood cage. As he would start to create a cage made out of wood, which, nobody, and I mean nobody can easily, break. Including, Yang's massive punches, and also, well, both of the girls' basically weapons. And let's just say they were pretty surprised seeing that, attack. And so, after, a while of, apologizing, he would basically start to leave with, Yang, right beside him. And so, after basically leaving, we currently see them basically talking about how Izuku is kind of awesome. Mostly, the, Malshitic, the Malashitic, twins, or whatever you want to call them at this point. I'm just gonna be calling them the twins, for now. It's much easier than just calling them by their stupid last names. What the... how am I supposed to pronounce it exactly? Anyway, continuing on. After that, we basically left off the episode right off there. So, yeah. So, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let us talk about what happens next, ladies and gents. So, while Izuku is basically flying away with, both, Yang and also, Neptuna, or, just Neptune, basically, right below them, he would basically, notice a bit of fighting nearby, as, Izuku would basically jump down, as he would basically, summon out a little snake instead. Not really little, as in, about the size of a regular snake. No, about, the size of, I don't know, a literal car. Yeah. As after summoning the snake, he would basically land down, and he would say, "Hey, Yang," he would say, as Yang would say this. Yeah, Izuku, she would say, as he would say this. Well, I just saw nearby that there was fighting, he would say. As after saying that, she would say, "Wait, what?" She would say, as Izuku would say this. "I think we should probably go, investigate it." As she would say this. "Yeah, we should, probably," she would say. As, Neptuna, or Neptune would say this. I'm probably gonna be leaving for now. My other teammates are probably gonna be worried about us. Mostly me and, Star over there. As he would say this. Sure, then, take care, he would say. As she would say this. "Okay then, bye," she would say, as she would start, running off. As, Yang would say this. "Hey, hop on," she would say. As Izuku would say this. Sure," he would say, as he would basically de-summon the snake and would basically, go on to her bike. As she would say this. "Hold tight," she would say, as after holding tight, basically, holding onto her waist, she would start to blush a little bit, as she would say this to herself. "Yes, yes, 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 yes," as she would start, revving up her engine and would start, creating a large, dust cloud from her, motorcycle. So, currently nearby, we currently see Roman Torchwick fight against, Team RWBY, while he's currently, riding on the Athlesian Paladin, which is, as you know in the, I almost said anime. I meant the show. God damn it! Yeah, in the show, it's basically like a new model of like weapon that is made by Atlas. So yeah. So while he was using it, he would say, "You damn brat!" He would say as he would start shooting down more blasts of energy and would start trying to crush them with the large fist that's created. As while Weiss is using her glyphs to basically repel some of them to basically, create much more devastating attacks. Izuku and Yang would finally arrive, as Izuku would say this. One he would say, as Yang would say this. Wait, is that the new Athlesian Paladin, she would say? As he would say this. Athlesian what? He would say, as she would say this. Oh, have you heard the news? Apparently, Atlas made a brand new robot, and apparently it's pretty strong, she would say, as he would say this. Whatever. Like, how does he... As he would start thinking to himself, like, how did he get that exactly, he would think to himself. As she would say this. Specifically, Yang. We should probably step in, she would say. As he would say this. Oh, right, he would say. As after saying that, he would start dropping down with Yang, as Yang would start charging over and would start fighting, against the Athlesian Paladin, while Izuku would basically, jump in, as he would summon, his Susanoo, mostly in its, incomplete form. What do I mean by this? Well, it's, in between the armored form, and the, and the, incomplete form. Yeah, as in, the, how do I say this? The, basically like, half-body skeleton, basically. So, as in, it basically has a skin. Actually, let's just call it the skin mode, or whatever you want to call it at this point. So, basically, he would start, going inside... Actually, it sounds so wrong. Actually, he would basically summon his, Susanoo, as he would, create legs, as he would start fighting against the Athlesian Paladin. Which, by the way, the Athlesian Paladin is, it's basically like a dwarf against, the size of his, Susanoo. Which is, by the way, not in its full form, by the way. So, as he would start fighting against the, Athlesian Paladin, as, Roman would start becoming a little bit afraid, knowing that Izuku's here. I should say, he would say, oh god, no, he would say to himself, as he would start shooting off more missiles at him. As he would say this, oh no, you don't, he would say, as he would basically grab the shield and would basically block off, most of the attacks. Some of the attacks would basically shatter a bit of the Susanoo, but it was pretty manageable, at least. As he would start shooting out blasts of energy, which are, which resemble arrows, as he would start shooting down the not Susanoo, I meant the, Athlesian Paladin. As while he was doing that, Roman would start, shooting off, well, more, blasts of, missiles, as currently nearby, RWBY and the rest of the gang were there basically watching him fight, Roman Torchwick, as they would say this. I think Izuku got it, said, RWBY, as, one of them would say this, specifically, Weiss. I think it's better for us to basically help him out. As after saying that, they would decide to do so. And so they would start, jumping off, from the pillar that they were, sitting on, and would start, fighting Torchwick again, as they would start, slashing him with their, attacks from, like, for example, for, Blake, she would start using her swords to basically cut him down, while for, RWBY, she would start using her, sniper-ish, gun mode, as she would start shooting off more, blasts of, dust towards him, as it would start shattering a bit of, the armor of the Athlesian Paladin. While for Yang, she would start, punching it instantly, with her, fist basically raging up in fire, as her eyes would start glowing a little bit, reddish, as her hair would start becoming flames. And as for, our little, Snow Queen over there, aka, Weiss, she would start using her, glyphs to increase the attack of, Yang over there. As she would basically do one final punch and would basically destroy the Athlesian Paladin, as the Athlesian Paladin would basically fly off, just imagine Team Rocket. Yeah. As after doing so, Roman Torchic would basically get out of there, as he would say, shit, he would say, as Izuku would basically, basically turn off his Susano, as he would basically say this. Now, let's take care of you once and for all, he would say, as he would basically, do some hand signs as you scream out, this. As he would scream out, shadow clones. As after saying that, he would basically summon a few shadow clones nearby, as the shadow clones would start, charging towards, Roman. As before he can, well, Roman Torchwick would just disappear. As after doing so, he would say, wait, what? He would say, as he would start looking around and would notice, well, a familiar sight. He would see Roman Torchwick, as right beside him was Neo, as he would say, wait, Neo, what are you doing there? As, she would basically bring up a sign, as he would say, sorry, but I won't let you hurt my dad, she would say. As he would say, wait, dad? He would say, as she would say this. Yeah, she would basically write it on like a, other little sign, as she would say this. Yeah, sorry, but I won't let you hurt him, at all. Even though I, consider you as a friend, it would say on the sign. As, one of them would say this. Wait, how do you know her? Said, Ruby, as he would say this. Oh, we met during, during my time basically in Vale. I also met her, back when it was, going to, a ice cream shop, he would say. As all of them would start becoming a little bit jealous after hearing about that. As she would say this. Don't worry about that, and trust me, I don't really hate you or anything. Said, Neo. But, Neo doesn't really say it, per se, but she just puts it on, a sign. Just imagine, what was that called again? Chibi Ruby, yeah, that one. Just imagine similar like that. Similar to that, version of, Neo. As after, putting that on the sign, she would say, or at least, write this. By the way, hope to see you again. And you can probably text me or anything, but I won't tell you any information, she would say. Or at least, put it on the sign. As, Izuku would say this. Wait, Neo, as before she, before, Izuku can say anything else, she would basically disappear. As he would decide to activate his, his dojutsu. As after activating it, he would notice that it's an illusion. As he would say, so, I'm guessing that her actual ability allows her to basically, create illusions. Not as powerful as mine, though, he would say, but close enough, he would say, as he would start chasing after her. As after doing so, he would basically jump towards, where, both, both Torchwick and, and her are basically there, as he would grab, Torchwick by the, by the collar, as he would say this. Gotcha, he would say, as Neo would be surprised, thinking to herself, wait, how did he, as, well, Roman would say, shit, he would say, as he would basically grab him by the collar and would basically throw him towards the ground, getting ready to slam him into the ground with, force that would probably kill a normal human. But thankfully he has aura, so yeah. After being slammed against the ground and would create a massive crater, he would say, guess it's time for me to take you in, said Izuku. As before you can, he would get, launched by fire. As in fire, I mean, literal fire. As he would start seeing that, that the person that thrown that fire was a cloaked figure. As the cloaked figure would say this. How annoying, she would say. As she would shoot off more fire. As after, Izuku saw that, he would create, a spear or naginata out of, aura. Or sort of aura. I mean, I still think that it's, basically just imagine this. How, that, the assistant of, of Momoshiki, yeah, that guy, well, he has the, chakra weapon thing, so just imagine something like that, but instead of, chakra, replace it with, with aura. So, after creating, the aura-like weapon, he would basically, slice the, fire in half. As after doing so, he would start activating his, his dojutsu, as after doing so, all of them, as in, the enemy, group, were basically just gone. Including Neapolitan, as he would say, well shit, he would say. As after saying that, he would start looking around as, the other girls would say this. Hey, Izuku, are you okay? Said, a worried Ruby, as he would say this. Oh, I'm fine, he would say, as one of them would say this. You sure? You definitely don't look fine, said, said a somewhat worried Weiss, I meant. God dang it! What the fuck is my speech impediment right now? Anyway, so, as after Weiss said that, he would say this. Oh, I'm fine. I was just a bit, well, let's just say a little bit pissed off. As after saying that, she would say this, specifically, Ruby. Is it because of that girl, she would say? As he would say this, no, not really. I mean, it sort of did make sense after all. After all, they are sort of family. And I'm still pretty much surprised that, Roman Torchwick over there has a daughter, he would say. As after saying so, everybody would start looking at him, as all of them would just say this. Oh, and by the way, mind telling me what is your relationship, with her? Said, well, a somewhat, angry-ish, a somewhat angry-ish, Blake, as you would say this. Well, we're sort of like friends online. We do talk sometimes we basically just like, text each other with our scrolls, he would say. As after saying that, all the girls would start becoming a little bit, angry after hearing that. Oh boy, just imagine that face from, what's that called? I can't remember the name, but, I can't remember the name of that anime specifically, but I remembered it, very, very, very vividly. I think it was about, like, Shogi or something, where that little, like, loli was basically, like, angry, and her face. Just imagine that face from that specific scene. Yeah, just imagine something like that. As, all the girls would say this. What? All of them would say with a creepy voice, as Izuku would say this. Anyway, let's just, as before you can, he would hear the sounds of, well, as you would hear the sounds of sirens. As after hearing those, sirens, he would look over and would see a lot of policemen nearby. As after seeing them, he would say, well, guess I'll just have to explain everything, he would say to himself. As some of the girls nearby would just think, well, shice, all of them would just say in unison. And so, we currently see Izuku and the policeman basically interviewing him. After a while of talking, they would basically be told to basically go back to their, dorms. Or their, specific dorms. As, while he was basically, getting interviewed, nearby, a girl was basically watching him. And this girl was none other than, General Ironwood, as her, as her first name was, actually let me just check. Jane Ironwood, and Jane Ironwood, because it's actually just a pretty simple, like, a pretty simple name to basically change. I mean, James, Jane, it's pretty easy. As, while she's basically seeing him basically getting interviewed, she would say, what an interesting boy. And not only that, he easily being the Ephesian paladin. She would start thinking to herself, as she would say this. I wonder if I can basically convince him to basically join Atlas, she would say. As after saying that, she would notice, some of her subordinates would say, hey, boss? As she would say this. Yes, she would say. As one of them would say this. I think it's better for us to basically leave now. After all, we found something interesting in the, ruins, one of them would say. As she would say this. I guess so. After saying that, she would basically tell, her subordinates to basically leave and would grab the, the remaining, parts of the, Athlesian Paladin, which was stolen by, Roman. As after doing so, all of them would basically start to leave, including Izuku. As while Izuku's basically leaving, he would basically arrive back at his dorm room and would see the rest of, Team Colorless. As Dove would say this. Hey, Izuku, are you okay? As Izuku would say this. Yeah, I'm fine. Let's just say I'm a bit tired, he would say. As one of them would say this. Specifically, well, Skyla. As Skyla would say this. Really? Then why are you... As she would notice Izuku's, beat up body, mostly, towards his, chest area to a bit of his face, as you would say this. Well, Sir got into a fight with, well, let's just say a robot, he would say, as one of them would say this. Huh, I see, said Russell. Anyway, how about you make breakfast, not breakfast, I meant dinner for us. As after saying that, he would say, I guess so, he would say. I mean, I definitely have enough time, I guess. As after saying that, he would decide to make, dinner for all of them. And so, after making dinner, all of them would basically go to sleep. So, after waking up, he would start going back to class as normal with, the rest of Team Colorless. While he was there, he would notice that Blake, for some odd reason, is, completely, tired. He would notice that her eyes were basically just, complete bags. They're so dark to the point that, he notices that she might, he would start to think to himself, does she, use eyeliner or something? He would start thinking to himself. But, either way, he would notice her basically super tired. To the point that she sometimes, falls, instantly falls asleep in class. Which he would always have to, wake her up for. And so, after a while, class would basically end. Wait for a second. So, after class, him and, the rest of, Team Colorless would start leaving, but before they can, he would be approached by, Weiss. As Weiss would say this. Hey, Izuku, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, he would say, as she would say this. Well, can you please, make some, food, for the party later? She would say, as she would say this. Wait, party? Wait, I didn't know that there was a party, she would say. He would say, as she would say this. Well, it's in a few weeks, so, this party, or more specifically, a prom night, she would say, I want you to make some, pastries for it, she would say, as he would say this. Sure, I mean, it's in a week, so I probably have some time, he would say, as she would say this. Thank you, she would say, as after not saying, I meant saying, god damn. At this point, I'm starting to think that I'm probably degrading my mind. What the Anyway, continuing on. After saying that, she would basically say goodbye to Izuku. As after doing so, one of them would say this. Specifically, Russell. Hey, or, I meant Rachel, As Rachel would say this. Hey, Izuku. As he would look towards them, as he would say this. Yeah, Rachel, he would say. As she would say this. Well, can I ask you this? She would say, as she would say this. Yeah? As the rest of the girls of his team would basically, look towards him, as they would say this. Well, can we, help you with, making the pastry, she would say, as he would say this. Sure, but why though, he would say, as one of them would say this. Well, it's because you've been working hard for us. I mean, we mostly, see you basically do all of the cooking and some of the, laundry and things of that sort. So, why not let you rest for now? And why not, help you out with, for the preparations for the dance party later. Or at least later this week. Or at least next week or whatever. As after saying that, Izuku would say this. Huh. Actually, yeah, why not, he would say. As after saying that, all of them would basically be relieved. And so, all of them would start leaving to go to their, personalized kitchen. As Izuku would say this. So, do any of you guys got the ingredients, he would say, as all of them would already gotten the ingredients, for example, jam, to, chocolate, to some, other, fillings, for example, red bean paste, to other types of stuff, as he would say this. Now, let's get ready, he would say, as all of them would basically, pump up their fist, and they would start, making, the pastries. As, all of them would basically, do pretty well. I mean, some of the girls are doing pretty hard, but most of the time, their, pastries were, not as good as, Izuku. So Izuku has to help them basically, make decorations for them. For example, baking, what is that called again? I'm still not deep into like food making at all yet in like our FBS class. It's still just mostly about preparations and menu making, things of that sort. So like for example, like what's that called? Like for example, making pies, to making like some like designs for the pies, like for example to making like much more savory type dishes, like for example what's that called, like shepherd's pie, and also things of that sort. And after a while of basically making these delicious pastries, he would basically be done and would tell all of them that they're already finished. And so, all of the girls would just be there basically tired, as one of them would say this, specifically Skylar. That was tiring, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, anyway, if you want to help me with the packaging, then, just do this, he would say. As all of them would look over and would see a large scroll, all of them would start thinking, and by the way, it's not that scroll as in, their equivalent of phones. No, the scroll from Naruto, or, ceiling scrolls. As after, grabbing one of them, he would start, putting some of the food there, as he would start using his blood, and kapoof! The food would just disappear, as all of them would just be, wait, what happened to the pastries? All of them would say, as he would say this. Oh, I just sealed them in my scrolls, he would say, as all of them would say this. Wait, how did you, as he would say this. Just put your aura into one of the scrolls and then, poof, it would just disappear, he would say, as one of them would say this. Wait, really? Said, one of them, as he would say this. Yeah, actually, let me just help you with that. As Bell, not Bell, I meant Izuku would basically help them out by, basically pricking their fingers and would start, sealing the, scrolls in their respective, like, respective scrolls. As after putting the food in their scrolls, he would basically put them nearby in like a nearby cabinet, as he would say this. Whew, that was easy, he would say, as all the girls would just say, yeah, it's, pretty interesting, said Rachel, as, Dove would say this. Yeah, like, seriously, you're that powerful, and not only that, with those storage scrolls, you can, carry anything, she would say, as he would say this. Not really. I can only carry about, like, about, a few dozen, like, things inside of a scroll at a time, he would say, as one of them would say this. Specifically, well, Skyla. Huh, I see. Then, I wanted to ask you about this, she would say, as she would basically come up closer to Izuku, as he would say this. Yeah, what is it, Skyla, she would say, he would say, as Skyla would say this. Well, because the dance is, like, in a few days, well, would you, come to the dance with me, she would say, as she would basically bow down. After doing so, both of the other girls would just be shocked and also a bit jealous after hearing about that, as Izuku would say this. Wait, really? He would say, as she would say this. Yeah, I've been maybe wanting you to basically, join with me to the dance, so, as he would say this. As he would start looking towards the other girls, as the other girls would just be there, just, awkward at this point, as he would just look towards, Skyla once again, as he would say this. Sure, he would say, as she would just have a light, a completely, like, happy face, as she would say, wait, really, she would say, as she would basically grab onto Izuku's arm, as he would say this. Yeah, as she would say this. Thank you, I'm really happy, she would say, as she would basically come up to him once again, as she would basically, kiss him on the cheek, as after doing so, she would say, alright, I should be leaving. I'm also going to be getting a dress for, for myself and you. As after saying that, she would basically start leaving, as you'd say, yeah. Wait. Oh yeah, I should probably get my own suit, he would say. For the party, he would say. As after saying that, he would start leaving to go, go back to, to a nearby bullhead to basically go into, into Vale to basically grab, like, some, a tuxedo or something for the party, or the dance party soon. As after doing so, the two other girls of his team were pretty much, pretty much in shock. Including, Rachel, as Rachel would just be, you know, let's just say, pretty pissed, to say the least. As she would say this. God dang it, she would say. I'm supposed to be the one that's going to be, asking him out, she would say. As after saying that, well, Dove would just say this. Wait, what? She would say? As she would say this. What? I mean, he's pretty cute, so it makes sense I would, try and get him, she would say. As after saying that, she would say, I was gonna go after him, she would say. As, after saying that, both of them would start fighting, fighting against each other. As after a while fighting, we pan out to go back to Izuku. As Izuku's basically leaving, the store after grabbing his, new tuxedo, as while he was basically leaving, he would notice, well, something interesting nearby. He would notice, a few people basically, talking, as after, going up to some of the people there, most of them would talk about, like, something happening nearby. As after looking around and noticing, well, White Fang members basically there with signs saying no more oppression or, we're not animals or something of that sort. He would start to think, well, shice, he would start thinking to himself. As he would start to leave, as he would notice, one of the White Fang members there, as one of them is basically trying to target him. After seeing that, one of the White Fang members would fire their weapon towards Izuku, which some of the people nearby would just notice and would start to become a little bit afraid. As after seeing that, or at least sort of not seeing that, he would basically raise up his hand and would say, Naraka Path, he would say. Not Naraka, I meant, Deva Path, he would say. As the bullet would basically just, float there. As he would say this, now, be crushed, he would say. As he would basically start to crush the bullet into little tiny pieces. As the bullet would basically fall to the ground, basically just like crushed. As he would start, looking around and would see the culprit of the attack. As he would notice a man, or a faunus in this case, basically, wielding his gun towards his head. As he would say this. Guess I'll just have to take care of you, he would say. As he would basically jump towards the guy, as he would basically get ready his fist, and would basically, punch him right in the face, causing him to basically fall to the ground, but before he can basically be, turned into, well, into, into a large spread of, like, paint over there, specifically red paint, he would basically, wait for a second, before he can basically be turned into, a large, splat over there, he would basically, jump down with him and would basically grab him by, wait for a second, god dang. He would basically, Brado style basically carry him and would basically, float down. As after doing so, he would basically, throw him to the ground as he would look towards the other White Fang members, which they were surprised seeing that. As some of the, civilians were basically just like terrified knowing that this kid basically defeated that White Fang member that was supposed to assassinate him, or kill him in this case. As he would say this, Oi, he would say, as causing some of the White Fang members to just look at him as he would say this. Maybe next time try not to assassinate me, or as he would basically lift off a trash can from the sky as he would start using his hand and would start crushing it. As after doing so, the trash can would just be turned into, a trash can. Oh, god dang it, I love that joke. As this trash can is literally just like, turned into scrap metal. As he would say this. This will be you, he would say. As he would start to leave. Some of the White Fang members were pretty much, turned pale after seeing that, as, some of the civilians were pretty much impressed seeing that. But before, the White Fang members can actually respond, some Atlas soldiers and Atlas, huntsmen would basically, jump in and would start, fighting against some of the White Fang members. So, back with Izuku. As after Izuku basically arrives back home, he would basically, see, the rest of his teammates basically there, doing their own thing. As after, well, basically, going back there, specifically to his room, he would basically, fall asleep, as the others were basically, doing their own thing. And by the way, if you're asking, yeah, it's basically the weekends for them. And so, Izuku would basically fall to sleep. So, yeah, that is going to be the end of this episode. So, yeah, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!